Welcome, everyone. Hello there. I am Meg Horn, a travel sales manager with AAA, and I'm joined by my colleague, Stacy Crowley. Secretly, I am beyond excited for today's presentation. I took an Alaska cruise 5 years ago, and it was probably one of my absolute favorite vacations. I cruised out of Vancouver, which quickly became one of my favorite cities. And I have to say, if you cruise through Juneau, you have to pop into the Red Dog Saloon for some really great adult beverages and check out the musher camps up in Skagway. I mean, they're just, the dogs are the cutest. I'm pretty sure one of the guys thought I was trying to steal one of the puppies, but we can look past that. Also, totally not a sales pitch, but do yourself a favor, book a balcony. The views are breathtaking. So I won't take too much away from our partners, but again, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. We are so lucky to have partners with us today that pride themselves in offering incredible experiences in Alaska, and we'll get to hear from each of them in a few minutes. Here at AAA, we believe that the best way to visit Alaska is by cruise, or even better, by land and sea. So Alaska provides natural wonders, epic scenery, and some of the most hospitable people to be found. Adventures alive in Alaska. Whether you choose to hike a glacier, whale watch from your balcony, or mush with the sled dogs, you know, that's the beauty of traveling by cruise. You can make your itinerary your own with so many amazing options for activities. And you can ensure that you get more value for your investment when you book your cruise with AAA. Our member benefits are the best you'll find, from discounts on sailings to onboard credits and more. We're always looking and working to provide our members with not only award-winning service and advice, but great value too. We have some exceptional offers for Alaska 2021, and now it's time to make your Alaska dream a reality. Really quick before we get started here, we do have some housekeeping tips for you. All participants are actually currently muted, but we'd love to hear from you. So if you have any questions, please do pop into the chat box and we'll be happy to answer those. The session is also recorded and will be posted on our website later this week, just in case you missed anything or want to go back and take another peek. And this recording and others are in our next network can be found at AAA.com/travel center. So my colleague Stacy will actually be kind of monitoring some of the questions that are coming in during these presentations, and she can kind of answer some, and then we'll also be doing a full recap at the end. So with that being said, we are joined with 3 leading industry experts, and I can't wait to see how each of these partners can make your Alaskan aspirations a dream come true. Matthew Guthrow is our Business Development Manager for Norwegian Cruise Line and is joined by Brendan Holcomb, Cruise Tours Sales and Marketing Manager at Celebrity, and Cindy Botello, the Manager of National Accounts at Princess. So let's dive right in. Cindy, what can AAA members look for in an Alaskan voyage with Princess? Cindy, I think you might be muted.
Hey guys, can everyone hear me right now?
There we go.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate wonderful introduction. I actually will agree with you on that Red Dog Saloon. No questions asked. You know, we leave ourselves there on the table every time we go, but that's okay. But hey, thanks to everyone who is currently listening to us. On behalf of AAA Northeast, we thank you so much for taking time, and most importantly, to hear a couple of just tidbits on Alaska. We're so excited that we're going to be welcoming in 2021. That's what we're looking forward to and planning ahead. So let's start off with my very first slide, just to kind of give you an idea. What we really love about this meme, it really makes a great statement about what our travel advisors bring to you, our guests that come on board when it comes to planning a travel vacation. But in reality, what I like to do is I always try to change it, because there's no question about it. If you go to my next slide, it's about your AAA travel advisor and all of the things and expertise and what they do to you, for you as a member for AAA. So kudos to AAA, and I'll show you some real opportunities that we've come together on with AAA for long years standing with them. But let's jump into Alaska, one of my favorite destinations. As I go back to one of my very first trips with Princess Cruises, when I joined Princess Cruises over 25 years ago, I actually had an opportunity to do an Alaska cruise tour. And I remember so specifically years ago kind of doing it and looking at it as the infrastructure and how well Princess really put this cruise tour vacation together and made it happen. And so there's no question in my mind that when we kind of say to ourselves and we have these accolades of being the #1 cruise line in Alaska, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of reasons, and one of the important reasons is you, our guest, who want to come to this great land. We have so many choices, and we have the ability to really provide that infrastructure from the cruise portion into the land portion and make an encompass Alaska cruise tour experience for you. And it's not all about how many people we carry on board our ships and through the Alaska program. It's the readers of Travel Weekly have named us #1 in Alaska for 15 years. And actually, it's been updated. It's now 16-time year winner. If we look at the Gallup poll, and the Gallup polls are about our travel advisors who rate us as a travel partner, they've named us as the #1 amazing for 18 years in a row. So constantly raising the bar. And as we go to the next slide, what we really have to really say is the history and the opportunities that we've had in Alaska for over 50 years. So there's no question about it. The infrastructure, again, not just from the cruise, but from the land perspective and how deep we bring our passengers into the Alaska, really says it all, for all the accolades from Food, Wine, and Magazine, Cruise Critic, and USA Today, recognizing our program, and continually we raise the bar to bring that to you as our guest. As we move into the next slide, one of the things that we really have encompassed throughout the years is an overarching program called North to Alaska. And what that program really does, it brings the excitement and the adventure to you, our guests, right on board, whether it's Puppies in the Piazza, the Night of Klondike in Juneau, or we have our Glacier Bay Rangers that come on board offering presentations. If you move to the next slide, our goal is to really bring the culture and differentiate what that is, bringing the culture on board our ships for you, our guests, to experience Alaska from the experts, from the people that live in Alaska, that can share their intimate stories and through all different aspects, through the onboard enrichment program or through the guests that we bring on board. So if we go on to the next slide, as simple sometimes the components could be a shore excursion. So we've taken care of things that we do on board, but we've also have an ongoing partnership with Discovery Communications, where we can actually just extend that even into exploring our shore excursions. And, throughout the presentation, you probably, I've integrated some personal pictures. About 2 years ago, so it's going about 3 years ago, we had the privilege of taking about 12 of our family members, friends and family, up to Alaska. And we were able to work together because the kids age range from, 12 years old to 16-year-olds. And in Alaska, multi-generational destination that it is, we were able to work together with our shore excursion departments, and your travel agent, AAA, can actually help you do this as well, as bringing together things that are exclusive to you, allowing you to discover different aspects and as you go together in a shore excursion. So we did one amazing shore excursion as a family of 12, family and friends, where our young ones were actually zip lining through Alaska, through the interior as we did an Alaska journey there at one of the ports of calls. And then one of the other pictures that you see here, Discovery recommend, you see about 6 of 7 of us by one of the waterfalls. And that was actually through an excursion that we went for an Alaska bake. So it was privately done for us, and we were able to put it together based on our size of our group. But I think it all really comes together as we have the ability to do these amazing programs both on board and outside and our shore excursions to really create that authentic Alaska cultural experience. If you go on to the next slide, As I talked about puppies in the piazza, bringing again that cultural distinction and on board our ships, we have puppies in the piazza, and yes, many times people want to go ahead and put them in their cabins and take them home with them, but not the case. I'm not allowed to do. But we were also able to go out on a shore excursion where we actually had an opportunity in Skagway to see the puppies who were training for life as a sled dog. They come, and then that they come on board, but we actually went to the facility, and Jeff King, which is one of the tour guys that actually has the facility, owns the facility, and he was actually part of the Iditarod race. So he was able to tell his personal stories of how he ran across and how he trains the dogs, how he packaged, their foods, and just an interesting aspect. If you go on to the next slide, we don't stop there. The partnership with Discovery Communications allowed us also to bring on board Captain David Lytham. And if you watch the Discovery Channel, the show, it's a hit show called The Deadliest Catch. You actually have an opportunity to hear their true life adventures of crab fishing in the harsh Bering Sea, and that, based on Discovery recommendation, we actually have this Bering Sea crab fisherman's tour that was created with the help of David Lethan. And again, some of the things that he also can come on board and does his lectures and talks about his own personal experiences. I think this is all just encompassing of what we do and how we deliver things at Princess Cruises. If you go on to the next slide, there's no question about it, adventure, fun, bringing in the culture, but Alaska's the gift that keeps on giving, we kind of say. And Princess truly believes that one of the best ways to truly experience the culture and the destination, it's through its food, the authenticity behind of its food, and this is the destination that really doesn't disappoint in this particular category. You'll have an opportunity to try some of the freshest seafood in the world, straight from the source. We've partnered with restaurants where what we call the eateries, local eateries, whether it's Crab Cakes Tracy, Cape Crab Cake, Shake and Juneau, or the fish tacos at the Fish House, and they're served at the Trident Grill right on board our ships. Here's my favorite. I think that this is one of the coolest things. We actually have a shore excursion that's called Cook My Catch. And interesting enough, you can see from the picture that you go on a shore excursion and you actually go on a fishing shore excursion. And I think the best part of it is that if you actually catch something, here's our one of our cooks, one of our chefs on board our ship that's actually going to cook your catch. So if you go on to the next slide, I think that it's like, talk about being, catch it and there you go. It doesn't get any fresher than this. And if you really don't like it, then you shouldn't, it's your fault because you caught it, type of thing. But the reality behind that is, how amazing is that? And talk about the firsthand experience of you cooking, of you catching your fish and having it brought on board. You don't have to bring it on board yourself. We'll do it for you. But how awesome is that to have your chef come in and just bring you your catch for dinner. Let's move on to a little bit more about Alaska with Princess, because this is kind of one of the things that your AAA travel partner is really going to help you and walk you through the distinctions between of the many ways that you can actually see Alaska and how you can see Alaska. You're probably on this webinar to learn about the different voyages and the types of voyages, and more importantly, how we all talk about the land and sea cruise tour program, because for us, that is really how it encompasses all of Alaska. So in essence, I'm not going to go into complete detail on these. You have first and foremost quite a number of round trip cruises that are inside passage cruises, very simple and easy, whether it's a round trip Seattle, round trip Vancouver. We even have round trips out of Los Angeles going up to Alaska for 2021. We also have the infamous and what we kind of hang our hat on, which is the one-way cruises voyage of the Glaciers. And the reason I kind of bring highlight to those is because that is the staple cruise that is then tied to see all of Alaska with our land and cruise vacations, our land and sea vacations. So let's go on to the next slide and you'll kind of dive in a little deeper in this. And I'm not going to, like I said, spend too much time because I've got a couple of other things I want to show you. With our inside passage, you really have opportunities and lots of choices here from 7 to 14 days, whether you're doing Seattle round trip, Vancouver, San Francisco, and as I mentioned, a 14-day out of Los Angeles, round trip out of Los Angeles. They're all glacier viewing experiences. You do cruise the inside passage and some of the infamous southeast ports of call. If you go on to the next slide, one of the things, again, that I talk about is, and I really do stress that this is kind of like one of the best ways to see Alaska is through our Voyage of the Glaciers. It's really allowing you the opportunity to bring you into the interior of Alaska. We dedicate 4 of our ships for 2021. These 7-day Voyage of the Glaciers can run from Vancouver or Whittier. So it all consists in as to what you'd like to do, for example, as a cruise tour. If you're doing a cruise tour and you want to do the cruise first, you would obviously disembark from Vancouver and head up north, disembark in Whittier, and then you start your land portion, or vice versa. Some of you may be inclined to do the land portion first, which tends to be the most popular. You do the land portion first, and then you kind of come down from Whittier down to Vancouver. But each of these Voyage of the Glacier itineraries will include 2 glacier viewing experiences, Glacier Bay National Park and Hubbard Glacier or College Fjord, and all consistent on what itinerary it is and what voyage it is. And I think these are the key, and these are kind of the highlights in regards to as you're moving forward and understanding that the real best way and what we talk about is obviously the Alaska Cruise Tour. And here and on the next slide, I just kind of want to give you a quick highlight how amazing these glaciers are and what Voyage of the Glaciers is all about. Again, whether it's Vancouver or you're coming from Whittier, here's a quick picture of our family. And I want to say we were about 12 at that point. That actual family extended to 19 2 years later in the British Isles. But just to let you know, what an amazing experience that these kids are now teenagers, so many of them are all older teenagers, are still talking about an amazing experience through Glacier Bay and all the things they were able to do while we were on the cruise. If I look at the next slide, I know it's just a quick picture of some of the highlights if you are in Glacier Bay National Park or whether you're doing Hubbard Glacier or the 16 Tidewater Glaciers of College Fjord. Those 2 girls that are in the middle of the picture happen to be my daughters. And yeah, we're in what we call summer quarantine, and we've been in summer quarantine, unfortunately. And sometimes I wonder if they're up for adoption, but yet they're still teenagers, so I can't quite do that yet. But I will say they are wonderful, accustomed to traveling with us. And more importantly, this is probably one of the best cruises beyond other cruises that they've done before. But I think that they spent quite a bit of time just in awe of how amazing the landscape was of Glacier Bay National Park. And I'll just tell you one really quick story about Glacier Bay and what my youngest daughter was she's quite a sports, and she's always involved. And when we were looking for her, she was always up in the basketball court. But interesting enough, I have a great picture of her. She's up in the basketball court, but she went out and she decided to do some putt golf in the Gulf area on the Ruby Princess. And at the time, we were in Glacier Bay as the ship is just doing its rotation, spends most of the morning and early afternoon in Glacier Bay, and we're rotating. And she had gone upstairs to just go play some golf with one of the other mates that we were traveling with. And as she was playing, I actually took a picture of her because the glacier was just calving, and she stopped and she was just in awe. And I just happened to take that amazing picture at that moment. I think those are the memories that we share forever. Here's a picture of my 12-year-old at the time just golfing away and with a backdrop of Glacier Bay. Okay, then that's spoiled. But anyway, we'll move on. With the Alaska product and the cruise tour product, this is one of the things that you can work with your AAA travel advisor on. You know that the Voyage of the Glaciers is our key Voyage of the Glaciers 7-day cruise. That's going to be your scenic rail travel through the Inside Passage and up through to Whittier. And you can have an opportunity based on the number of days that you have available that you'd like to see in the land. So it's all contingent on how much time you have on the land portion, how much you'd like to spend. Then you'll be able to go deeper into the interior or spend more time in a particular lodge. But generally our programs for cruise tours run from 3 to even 10 nights on land, believe it or not. So we do some extensive programs, many different options, but I'll share some real highlights for you in a few minutes. Let me go on to the next slide to kind of show you some of the things that are unique to Princess. And I think this is where we really also kind of share the exclusive Direct to Wilderness Rail program. This is exclusive for Princess. You have an opportunity to disembark right from the ship if you are coming on a northbound cruise and go on, step right off the ship, right onto our Princess rail car that will take you up to Denali that same day. And I think that is the beauty behind that. Open rail glass cars throughout. If you move on to the next slide, so I can kind of move this along for you guys. These are just 4 of our different lodges. We actually have 5 wilderness lodges in Alaska. All of these beautiful lodges were owned and operated by Princess Cruises. So the continuity of the experience that you may have on the ship and the continuity that you may have on the experience on the land portion through our lodges, you're going to find on our ship. Like I mentioned, owned and operated by Princess, 5 lodges in Alaska. Here's 4 of them. These are all situated on beautiful riverfront properties. For example, our Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge is conveniently located just a mile from the entrance of Denali National Park. So this is kind of your home base of the adventure, from whether you're doing a flight seeing or river rafting or horseback riding or dog sledding, you name it. The Mount McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge is complete with breathtaking views of the Great Denali itself from the outdoor viewing platform and the dramatic great room. We built the lodge just to have a great view for Denali. I'm just going to kind of move this along. Here's a quick picture of the Denali and some of the lodges and the rooms. We also have what we call, right at Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge, we have Fanny Q Saloon. And I thought this next picture, which is the Wilderness Lodge, Dan, with the Fanny Q Saloon, you can see how modern, how unique it is, but just amazing that you have an opportunity to dine there. And a quick look at the map so that you can actually see how situated our lodges are through the interior of Alaska. So again, doing a voyage of the glaciers really brings you into the interior. You disembark in Whittier, and from Kenai to Mount McKinley up to Fairbanks, Copper River, and Denali, these are all, again, Princess Cruise tour lodges that we own and we operate. Let me go into the next slide, and because I think this is where I want to spend just another minute on. This is the Alaska Cruise exclusive cruise tours that are exclusive to AAA. So as a AAA member, as a AAA client, your AAA travel agent can actually offer you these particular cruise tours. We have them created just for AAA. Encompass the cruise, the rail, and the lodge. So if we go straight to the next slide, I'll be able to let you know these are the things. It's a 4-night land or a 5-night land. Very simple. We try to keep it as basic as possible because primarily what you're going to do in Alaska is a minimum of the nights in Denali and the nights in Mount McKinley Princess Lodge. And what we do is incorporate these in both of these tours. The only difference between these 2 tours is that one happens to be an 11-day, which is a 4-night land, and the other tour is a 5-night land. So based on the number of days that you may have, you would either spend 1 to 2 nights at Mount McKinley, and certainly you have your 2 nights in Denali, or you have your Fairbanks. So your Fairbanks is when you're going further north, and that's on your tour 15. The difference between the north and the south is just what you're going to do first. If you're going to do the land first, then you're obviously coming southbound. And if you're doing the cruise first, then you're going northbound. Now, what's one other thing, if we go on to the next slide, the combinability that as a AAA guest, your travel agent with AAA will actually work with you at AAA Vacations amenities. So you will be able to have all these amenities on board as part of your package, which is whether it's a $25 onboard credit spending, you got specialty dining, and that's all in addition to the value added amenities that are part of your cruise tour. And your exclusive cruise tours include quite a number of meals throughout your land portion. And I think that those are the things that you really want to make sure that you understand. Primarily your AAA and our partnership with AAA is so strong that we've developed these exclusive cruise tours just for you guys with amenities that are just for you. And again, combinable if you are military, you have future cruise credits with us. I want to go on to the next one because I think the next slide goes into talking a little bit about what's the best time to go to Alaska. And these are quick slides that we do provide our AAA travel partners with. So if you're kind of identifying what's it like weather-wise and when can I go, what do I see a little more, see more of the whales, when is there more movement? You're not necessarily going to see a bear in May, but you see more wildlife and animal movement. You may have an opportunity to see a bear when you're going into that Denali National Park excursion, and we provide that as part of your exclusive cruise tour with AAA. What are the shoulder seasons like May and September? That's when you're going to see some really good attract rates. But here's my next slide, which is the Princess Plus program. In addition to all the amenities that we provide exclusively for AAA, like your dinners and your breakfast at the lodges, you also have an opportunity, what we call the best value ever of the Princess Plus program. So this is an evergreen program. It is combinable with all the AAA exclusives that your drinks on board the ship, your beverage package is included, and your Wi-Fi, unlimited Wi-Fi is included, and your gratuities on board the ship are all included. This is a $95 per day value per person. It's amazing. So again, premium beverage package, and that can include your specialty coffees, your bottles, waters, your smoothies, your energy drinks, and that it's included with your tips. So you don't get charged tips on top of that. So that's part of that. And as I mentioned, the unlimited Wi-Fi and your gratuities are paid on your behalf. So this is your Princess Plus. And I will say that add that up with all of your AAA amenities, you've got a home run. I think one of the other things to keep in mind with this Princess Plus, the drinks, the Wi-Fi, and the gratuity, is that it's available on all of our destinations for 3 days or longer voyages. And if you have more than 2 people in your cabin, because most cabins are obviously a double occupancy. That's the general rule. But you're probably traveling with your children if you're traveling your grandchildren, or you're multi-generational like we were. And it includes this exact same offer for third, fourths, and we do have a fifth, primarily because we have some ships like the Sky Princess that accommodates 5, the Sky Suites. So even if you have 5 people in your cabin in your Sky Princess Sky Suite, there you go. This particular offer is available for all members. And one of the last, as I wrap up, because I do need to be mindful of everyone's time, but I do want to say the strength of our partnership with AAA has gone for many years. I've traveled with AAA throughout the years and managed the national account AAA for a number of years. Having had 25 years at Princess, quite a number of years have been managing the AAA national account. So I kind of very much do all these custom programs for AAA with the heart and soul of our partnership and strengthening it. And in 2018, Princess was awarded the AAA Partner of the Year. So we thank you for AAA for their partnership and recognizing us. And also we have recognized AAA for 2 consecutive years as we've awarded them our Founders Award, which is World's Leading Cruise Lines Excellence Awards, and we continue to build that strength more and more. Finally, I'm just going to give you a quick update, as probably many of you thinking about health and protocols. This is all in the making. I know that you guys will have access to this PowerPoint and this presentation so that you can hear further. But one of the things I just want to scan through these is just the fact that this is all work in progress as we continue to build what our cruise lines and how our health protocols are going to be as we enter service again. If we go into the next slide, the health protocols on board, we're most certainly going to be looking at cleaning measures. Obviously, when you look at Horizon Court, or where we're going to be, where our standard areas where it's going to be much more of a staff served guest. So all of these things, again, there's no specific details. I think on the next slide, we talk about the flexible cruise and confidence cancellation policies that we've kind of adhered to, understanding that things are constantly changing right now. And of course, 24-hour day monitoring of what we're listening to with the CDC and the WHO. But for us, being this constant change, giving us an opportunity now that we are in global pause, is an opportunity for us to really create these programs and adhere to the protocols that are administered obviously by CDC and WHO, but also what our expectations and what we want to ensure that we're going to have on board our ships. There are collateral pieces and materials that are available right now. If you the next slide, we'll kind of talk about preventive measures before and during the cruise, and these are all items that we are going to be working very closely with our travel partners to communicate. Two more slides. Our next one is the medallion class. We talk about medallion class because that is kind of one of the ships that most of the ships that are going to be coming back to service will be medallion class. If you haven't heard of medallion class, I invite you to kind of take a look at our website, take a look at, most importantly, talk with our AAA travel partners to kind of walk you through medallion class, so that you can see the easeability in regards to just using your technology, your handheld technology, and there's no waiting on lines for foods, drinks. It's all being served to you just by the fact that you've got the medallion and you're wearing it. There's no longer a key card per se. It actually opens up your cabin door. And one of the other last things, if you go on to the next slide, make time to unwind. Wow. Based on all the things that are going on, we talk about going outside, getting a little fresh air, stay connected with family and friends, talk about the adventures that you are going to now be creating as you travel, plan for your travel, that anticipation of travel. It's always so exciting because I think that's not just the travel itself, but the anticipation and the getting through and planning stages. I think there's great excitement about that. Definitely take care of yourself, exercise, sleep. We talk about getting on a news diet. I think there's just so much news that you can watch, so we kind of call it as news diet. And last, I wanted to show you a quick rendering that someone from our marketing department kind of created and passed these notes out to many of our passengers throughout a couple of situations that we had. And I know that they remind ourselves to kind of just be kind to ourselves. Let's be kind to ourselves, be kind to others. I know it's a difficult time, but we do see that, most importantly, on our next slide, there's no question about it. We thank you for your patience. Many of you are your loyalty to Princess and to AAA, our travel partner, who continues to strengthen our partnership every day. And from all of us ashore, our ships, back at the headquartered office, we thank you. And most importantly, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Awesome. Fantastic info, Cindy. Thank you so much. And we are so lucky to have such amazing partners like yourself. So with that being said, please remember we are going to host a little Q&A session at the end of all the presentations. If you do have any Princess related questions, please add those in to our Q&A for discussion at the end. So with that being said, Brendan, Celebrity has established themselves in the Alaska cruise market for sure. So with various itineraries and opportunities, what can AAA members expect from Celebrity when shopping the Alaskan vacation market?
Well, it's fabulous to be here, fabulous to talk about Alaska and Alaska cruise tours a little bit. And I'm going to get into Celebrity. I'm going to talk about what's unique about the Celebrity Alaska cruise tour experience. But before I do, I want to talk about Alaska just a little bit. I want to talk about the cruise versus the land tour and what are the opportunities and why you should be excited about experiencing Alaska by both land and sea, and how do you come to that decision if experiencing Alaska by both land and sea is for you. Now let's jump along one slide because I just want to take some time to remember how I used to look nearly 17 years ago. It was some time ago. I've got a pretty girl on my arm there. I'm actually in Glacier Bay National Park. That worked out pretty well. She's downstairs with the baby now. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, that's me in Alaska at Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge last summer. I've been in the cruise industry for almost 18 years now. I spent 11 years cruising on board our ships. 4 of those years, I was exclusively cruising the southeastern coastline of Alaska, and it's one of those destinations that you are always excited to return to. The last 5 years, I've spent working with the interior of Alaska to create our cruise tours, and it's an experience that I really believe that if you take the leap to experience Alaska by both land and sea, you will have amazing experiences. I didn't plan to spend 10 years of my career working directly with Alaska, but that's how it's worked out. And I couldn't be more happy to be engaged with it. All right, let's move on along one slide because I want to show you Alaska and just frame it up for you, because Alaska is known as one of the strongest first to cruise markets. Basically what that means is that many folks, when they want to go to Alaska, they do some exploration, and what they find out is the easiest way to explore it is by cruise. That's where they're first to cruise. And part of that reason is, I think intellectually, we think about Alaska kind of hanging off the edge of the continental US, up where it's at in the north. But when you truly frame it up and see how big Alaska really is, if you were to split Alaska in two, those two pieces would be the first and second largest U.S. state, with Texas coming in third. There's more coastline in Alaska than the East Coast and the West Coast and the Gold Coast combined. So how do you experience that in the way that you want to experience it? How do you see the things that you want to see? How do you do the things that you want to do with a state that big? And when the coastline, in many cases, is a series of interconnected islands. Juneau is landlocked. Well, the way that you do that is by experiencing that coastline by cruise, and the way that you do that is experiencing the interior of Alaska as part of multi-night land tour. Now, you absolutely do not want to miss a cruise to Alaska. Let's jump along one slide, because those experiences that are open to you are vast and they are spectacular. Whale watching, of course, well known in Alaska, but as the whales migrate down from Hawaii through the Pacific to the feeding grounds in Alaska in the summertime, the opportunities for whale watching abound, particularly in Juneau and Icy Strait. It is very, very rare to go out on a whale watching experience and not get some fabulous sightings. And if you're lucky, you'll see what's known as bubble net feeding. Take an opportunity to look it up. It's a uniquely Alaskan experience where the humpback whales use their blowholes to create air nets and feed on the fish. And it is uniquely Alaskan. It is just spectacular. Jump along to the next slide, because I want to show you the Yukon and White Pass Rail that you have the opportunity to experience in Skagway. Now, one of the things that I love about Alaska is that it beautifully combines two things. You have this incredible history and that incredible scenery as well. And the Yukon and White Pass Rail beautifully blends it, because it follows the route that the miners took in the late 1800s to access the Yukon goldfields as part of a narrow gauge rail experience. But while you do that, you have the incredible peaks and valleys and the scenery and the mountains, and it's an incredible day. Just move along one slide, because I want to show you in Ketchikan where the misty fjords are. Now, something that you will hear often, and rightly so, is that when you go to Alaska, you have to take an opportunity to see her from up top. Whether it's as part of a rail car experience, whether it's as part of a flight, seeing Alaska from up top is something that you don't want to miss. And when you're in Ketchikan, you have the chance, in order to go on what's called the Misty Fjords Flight Adventure, where you're flying amongst 1,000-foot smoky cliffs surrounded by the Tongass National Forest. It's an incredible wilderness experience. Each of these experiences are open to you in the ports along the southeastern coastline of Alaska, and they are magnificent. But certainly what's important for me to make a great recommendation is that there are just as many experiences open to you along the southeastern coastline of Alaska. That doesn't necessarily have to be a shore excursion or a paid experience. One of the things that I loved to do when I was cruising in Alaska is, as I debarked the ship in Juneau, just was to walk around the back of Mount Juneau and take a beautiful hour-and-a-quarter hike up to the top. And as you got to the top, the foliage opened up and you could see right to the end of the Gastineau Channel, and it was spectacular and it was amazing. And you can really blend up these experiences as you travel along the southeastern coastline to have incredible experiences day by day. Let's move across one slide, because it's always good to talk a little bit about the scenic areas of glacial cruising along the southeastern coastline of Alaska, because this is something that you'll have heard of. You'll have heard of names like Hubbard Glacier and Glacier Bay and Tracy Arm Fjord and Endicott Arms, and these are the glacial areas of scenic cruising along the southeastern coastline of Alaska, and they are spectacular and they are wonderful. And you may have heard about some more than others, But certainly what's true for me as someone who had an opportunity to experience all of them multiple times is that they are all fabulously beautiful, but in their own individual and unique ways. Now, the glacial area I'm going to talk about today is Hubbard Glacier for a reason that I'll get into, but this is the most dramatic of all the glacial areas on the southeastern coastline of Alaska, specifically because where many glacial areas are receding, Hubbard Glacier is advancing to the tune of around 30 meters per day. And what that creates is the calvings. This is when the cliffs of ice collapse from the glacier into the ocean, and it's dramatic and it's spectacular. And while you're on board a celebrity ship, a dedicated onboard naturalist is narrating the experience as the captain sits in Disenchantment Bay and spins the ship for everyone to have those fabulous views. It's an amazing day. What's true for me is that if you've never been to Alaska before, it doesn't matter what glacial scenic area cruising is included as part of your itinerary, because any of them along the southeastern coastline of Alaska will take your breath away. Let's move along one slide, because I want to talk a little bit about Revolution. We're so excited about this. Revolution is the celebrity program where we're spending over $500 million to upgrade our fleet. Now, the Celebrity Millennium that does what's called open jaw sailings, as you heard a little bit before about, is our ship that sails from Vancouver to Seward or Seward down to Vancouver, and you have the opportunity to do the cruise tours on. Now, the Celebrity Millennium was the first ship to be upgraded as part of our revolutionized ships. $75 million. We took this ship down to the studs and built her back up again with many of the amenities and the experiences that we built into our new ship, the Celebrity Edge. What's really fabulous about the Millennium and the Revolution is the opportunity to do our northbound, southbound open jaw itineraries as part of a new ship experience. That is a really, really, really cool thing. Let's jump along one slide and take a look at the map of Alaska again, because we've been talking about the southeastern coastline, and you can see that here down on the right-hand side, open jaw itineraries on the Millennium sail from Vancouver to Seward and Seward down to Vancouver. We have other ships, such as the Solstice that does Seattle round trip, and the Eclipse that does a Vancouver round trip, but Millennium on our open jaw sailings creates the opportunity to be able to do a cruise tour, because you debark or embark in the destination of Seward. Now, if you're looking at Seward, excuse me, on the map, what you'll see is north of there is the fabulous destinations of Alyeska and Anchorage and Talkeetna and Denali National Park and Fairbanks, and this is all the interior of Alaska. Now, again, think of the size of Alaska. If you were to drive directly from Seward all the way north to go to just Denali National Park, that would be an 8 to 9 hour drive. That's without stopping, that's without doing anything, that's without seeing anything. So the opportunity to explore this destination is best explored as part of a multi-night land tour. Combining that multi-night land tour with that southeastern coastline cruise creates the opportunity to have these elevated experiences in Alaska. What do I mean by an elevated experience? Let's jump across to the next slide, because when we think about what is it that we want to experience in Alaska, and I think this is a great way for you to think about what is for me a cruise or a cruise tour. A great way to approach this is to bucket out all of the experiences that you can think of. What are the things that I want to do? But what are the things that I must do for this to be an amazing experience? What are the things that I would like to do that I've heard about but are not key? But what are the things that I've heard about and are just not for me? And I think as you go through that process, what you'll find is that the experiences that you want in Alaska are a combination of wilderness and wildlife and mountains and glaciers. And when you think about what a cruise tour offers over just the Alaska cruise, what it is to have all of those experiences but elevated. Because when you do a cruise along the southeastern coastline, you have tremendous opportunities for wilderness experiences like the misty fjords that I spoke about. But when you travel into the interior of Alaska, to be in Denali National Park, surrounded by nothing but nature, it elevates that wilderness experience. When you think about the wildlife, the opportunities for Alaskan wildlife on the coastline are incredible. Orcas and sea lions and bald eagles and whales. But when you travel into the interior of Alaska, you have the opportunity to see the big five, the moose, the caribou, the grizzlies, the Dall sheep, and the wolves. Your wildlife experiences are elevated. And when you think about the mountains, if you've ever stood in Seward, surrounded by the Kenai Mountain Range with the glacial formations cascading down into the ocean, you would know that it takes your breath away. But when we think about mountains, we're thinking about only one, which is Denali, formerly Mount McKinley, the tallest peak in North America, but also over 377 miles from any coastal area of Alaska. You have to travel into the interior to have that elevated mountain experience. Now, those glaciers you get as part of any cruise only or cruise tour. But when you think about the experiences that would really create an amazing Alaskan experience for you, combining Alaska by both land and sea is really what elevates that experience. All right, let's jump over to the next slide because I want to spend about 4 or 5 minutes just talking about the celebrity cruises, cruise tour experience, and what elevates our cruise with us by both land and sea. Now, that revolutionized Cruise on the Millennium, newly updated, $75 million, taking that ship down to the studs, that just delivers an exceptional experience for your cruise along the southeastern coastline of Alaska. But what elevates a celebrity cruises cruise tour in the interior of Alaska is also what we call our core inclusions. What's included as part of that tour component of the land tour is lodges, service, transportation, and I'm going to talk about the included experiences also. But let's jump along one slide, because the lodges that we utilize in the interior of Alaska are all about delivering amazing experiences and amazing lodges in those destinations. We select them for culture and quality and location. Where can you have an amazing experience? That's where we're going to put the overnights as part of the land component of our cruise tour. Take an opportunity to check out Hotel Alyeska at some point. It is a fabulous luxury resort in the interior of Alaska, 4 Diamond-star restaurant that sits at the top of the mountain range overlooking the 7 hanging glaciers, heated saltwater swimming pools that look out over lush valleys. It is an incredible lodge experience in the interior of Alaska. Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge, great property, but check out particularly the views up on the top right-hand side. This is the view from the back of the Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. That's the coastal range, and that's Denali herself, formerly Mount McKinley, rising above the mountain range, gives you incredible views from the back of Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. She is the only property in the interior of Alaska that offers those incredible views of Denali the mountain, but also ease of access to the town of Talkeetna itself for those great local experiences, just a 5-minute complimentary transfer away. And then Denali Park Village on the left-hand side, just a 12-minute complimentary transfer away from the gates of Denali National Park, and such a great property for the national park experience. Sits right at the base of Nenana River, rushing by, surrounded by the coastal mountain range. Incredible property. We're always selecting those properties to have those amazing experiences in the destinations that are best to visit in the interior of Alaska. Additionally, what's included in a Celebrity Cruises cruise tour, let's jump along one slide, is a fully escorted experience. Now, everything that we do in the interior of Alaska, let's just jump along one slide, is a fully escorted experience. And what that means is a tour guide who comes from Alaska or lives in Alaska, but has that deep connection with Alaska. What we want is for them to introduce their Alaska to you. Now, let me jump back again and say, a state that is twice the size of Texas. How do you ensure that you see the things that you want to see? How do you ensure that you do the things that you want to do? How do you know that you're going to be in the places that you want to be? You do that by having a local tour guide introduce that destination to you. It's a fabulous way in order to explore the interior of Alaska. So when you fly into the interior of Alaska on a Celebrity Cruises cruise tour, the one person you'll be met by is your dedicated local tour guide. They will introduce you to your dedicated motor coach driver. And that dedicated motor coach driver will show you your dedicated deluxe motor coach. And that's it for the duration of the land tour. is your motor coach, your dedicated tour guide, and your motor coach driver. It really delivers the cruise tour experience, the land tour experience, and is a fabulous part of the Celebrity Cruises cruise tours. And then finally, the rail travel. You heard a little bit about it before. Let's jump along one slide. But rail travel is so important in the interior of Alaska, such a great way to explore the interior. Now, the rail line in Alaska, it travels all the way from Seward right the way up to Fairbanks. And every single cruise tour that we offer includes a rail section on these rail carriages right here, the Wilderness Express. Fabulous luxury rail cars, 80 persons up top, luxury leather seating, power ports in the seats themselves, bar service available to you, and of course those incredible domed glass roofs for the beautiful scenery of Alaska that surrounds you. Every single cruise tour that we offer includes a rail segment. Some of our cruise tours have multiple rail segments. One of our cruise tours, in fact, is almost exclusively traveling by rails. If that's something that you're looking for, we certainly have it for you. And we utilize all sections of the Alaska Railroad. So depending on the cruise tour, you could have a section from anywhere along the Alaska Railroad all the way up to Fairbanks. What's included in a Celebrity Cruises cruise tour? What elevates a Celebrity Cruises cruise tour? It's the lodges, the service, and the transportation. Now, additionally, we always included experiences in our cruise tours. Think of these kind of like shore excursions that are already built into the land tour component themselves. Amazing experiences. One of my favorites here, the Riverboat Discovery, takes you on a sternwheeler with a family called the Binkleys, who've been in Alaska, who've been in Fairbanks since the founding of the town itself over 100 years ago. Last year, I was lucky enough to ride the sternwheeler with the matriarch of the Binkley family, who's 97 years old, wonderful lady. You visit an Athabascan Indian village, learn about the Athabascans' life in Alaska. It's very, very cool. What you'll have probably heard of is the tours into Denali National Park. Now, there's a couple different tours that go into Denali National Park. Denali National Park, there's just one road that travels from the visitor center itself into the park. It's 92 miles long, and just depending on which one you have included depends on how far down that road that you go. Always a national park ranger is with you, narrating the experience along the way. Very, very cool way to explore Alaska. Every single Alaska cruise tour that we offer includes a tour into Denali National Park, and then depending on the cruise tours, depending on the other cruise tours, you have additional included experiences as well. Let's jump along one slide because I want to finish up with a couple things just to say the best way to look at all of those different cruise tours that go to the interior of Alaska. And I'm not going to recover some of the things that were spoken about, northbound and southbound, different types of cruise tours. You can explore that with your AAA representative as to what option is best for you. But what I recommend starting out with is this concept. Alaska is not a theme park. The bears will be there if they want to, and they won't if they won't. And the clouds will rise from Denali, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But the longer you go to Alaska for, the more opportunities you will create for yourself for those magical, natural moments to happen. The longer you go to Alaska for, the more opportunities you create for yourself for those magical, natural moments. Start with how long you can commit to having an amazing vacation experience in Alaska, and then work with your AAA representative to select the individual cruise tour from those length of cruise tours that we have on offer for you. Our cruise tours range from a 7-night Alaska cruise and a 2 to 6 night land tour, so a 9 to 13 night cruise tour overall. And however long you're looking to go to Alaska for, we deliver really exceptional experiences in the interior of Alaska and on the coastline as part of our cruise ships. All right, that's it from me.
All right, thank you so much, Brendan. It is pretty clear that Celebrity has a lot to offer for our AAA members to explore Alaska. So with that being said, I know we're coming up quickly on our 5 o'clock. We do have one other partner presenting, so if you guys can hang in with us. And again, we do have a Q&A session after that. So with that being said, Matt, you want to hop on and fill us in on some of the opportunities Norwegian has for our members to explore Alaska?
Sure. You can hear me, correct, Meg?
You are good to go, my friend.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you so much for hosting this event. I know that Norwegian, we really appreciate our partnership with AAA at every branch. You know, we have some passionate travel advisors there to help you find the best product for you. And just like the two presenters that spoke with you before, I too have spent a lot of time in Alaska. Most recently, I've done both the cruise tour and I did a special birthday cruise with my wife from Seattle, doing our Glacier Bay departure. And so we had an amazing time. And, you know, Norwegian lets you explore all sides. We can go to the next slide. We can move on to the next slide. Norwegian lets you explore all sides of Alaska the way locals see it, up close and personal on an Alaskan cruise. And then the next slide. I want to introduce you to the youngest fleet cruising Alaska. And the best way to cruise Alaska just got better because we have 4 ships cruising Alaska. So you have plenty of opportunities to enjoy the onboard experience that's right for you. Thrill seekers will jump for joy at our 2-level racetrack and laser tag. We also have available on board the Norwegian Bliss and the brand new Norwegian Encore. If you're looking for more of an intimate ship experience, the newly refurbished and revitalized Norwegian Sun is bringing that and more with its beautifully renovated spaces and staterooms during its 5, 7, and even 9-day itineraries from Seattle, or you can head deeper into the frozen wilderness with one of Alaska's cruise tours on board the Norwegian Jewel. The Norwegian Jewel does both the north and southbound departures from Seward or Vancouver, and it's combining your cruise with an immersive land vacation that goes beyond the expected. Whichever route you choose, Alaska and the vacation of a lifetime awaits on board Norwegian Cruise Line. We can go to the next slide. First, I want to introduce you to the Norwegian Bliss. This is my favorite ship in our entire fleet and one of our most popular ships in our fleet as well. Is built in 2018 and it has innovative features like a Michael Mondavi wine bar, a brewery, a 2-story go-kart track, a water park, and a Tony Award-winning show straight from Broadway, Jersey Boys. We can move on to the next slide. One of the featured itineraries in which I wanted to show you is a 7-day inside passage from Seattle. So you can witness the magnificent Endicott Arm Fjord with and the Dawes Glacier. This itinerary features Icy Strait Point, which is a unique destination surrounded by wilderness with easy access to the ocean. There's a lot of activities to do there. Icy Strait Point is ideal for hiking and whale watching, and it's also home to the Zip Rider, which is the longest zip line in the world. We'll move on to the next slide. Norwegian Encore is our newest and most innovative ship in our fleet. It features a high-tech virtual world playground for all ages called the Galaxy Pavilion. Culinary highlights on here include Onda by Scarpetta. Now, Onda, which means wave in Italian, is a modern Italian culinary experience that features Scarpetta's signature pastas, like their famous spaghetti, tomato, and basil, to unique mouth-watering seafood creations. And you want to get ready to for the most incredible entertainment at sea. We have 2 amazing shows on this ship, including Choir of Man and the 6-time Tony Award-winning blockbuster Kinky Boots. We can move on to the next slide. And the itinerary in which I'm featuring for this one is the one that my wife and I got to enjoy together, which is the 7-day Glacier Bay from Seattle. This is one of our most popular itineraries here at Norwegian Cruise Line. It features stops in Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skagway, where you can take a walk, through the well-preserved Gold Rush town, or jump on the White Pass Railroad, like my wife and I did in Skagway, and you can also, during the sailing, you can visit a special place called Glacier Bay. And Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve is something that is amazing and incredible. From the bottom of the deepest glacier fjord to the summit of its highest peak, Glacier Bay encompasses some of the continent's most amazing scenery. And I know that my wife and I, when we were on our balcony, we would just sit there and we would take it all in during the day in which we spent in Glacier Bay. One of the things that I found amazing is we actually have a park ranger from the National Park Service, which narrates our tour as we cruise through Glacier Bay, so that you can find out everything that you wanted to know about this unique experience on this day in which you spend in Glacier Bay. On the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the Norwegian Jewel. As the namesake of our Jewel class, you can bet the Norwegian Jewel has it all. Now, they offer some of the largest suites at sea. They have a 6,000 square foot suite on here, and we actually have 2 of them. They come with a baby grand piano. They accommodate up to 8 guests, and they are super popular. These staterooms accommodate every style, so we have those all the way down to an inside cabin. When it comes to entertainment, the ship is filled with excitement. They have a large variety of dining options. They have vibrant bars and nightclubs, and that's just the beginning. The Jewel class is one of my favorite ships in our fleet, and I got a chance to sail on the Jewel class when my wife and I got to go over to Glacier Bay. The next slide will talk a little bit about the north and southbound departures on this 7-day itinerary that meets up with our cruise tour product. I had an opportunity to do the cruise tour, and in Denali we got to see all 4 of the highlights in which you look for. Actually, it's 5 highlights. We got to see the mountain, as well as we got to see bear, moose, caribou, and Dall sheep in Denali. And we got to just experience everything that this amazing destination has to offer, whether it's glacier-fed streams or inspiring mountains. You'll feel like you're part of Alaska's interior once you're there. It's just, I often say with Alaska that the best thing that happened to Alaska tourism is the invention of the high definition television, because now that you have all these amazing shows on your cable networks that are featured in Alaska, everybody wants to go and see it for themselves. And let me tell you, you're never disappointed. One of my favorite points in our cruise tour product was going down to Homer. It is a fishing community down in Homer, and the people have such an incredible sense of humor. They often call Homer down there it's the southernmost point of Alaska, and they call it a drinking town with a fishing problem. So it is a fun destination. You get to see a lot of different local artists and fisheries, so it's really a highlight that I enjoyed when I did a cruise tour. And I know our previous presenter talked about Fairbanks and the land of the midnight sun up there during the bright summer solstice. So I'm not going to talk more about that, but our Alaska tours give you hundreds of unique moments to capture, keep, and treasure forever. So it's spanning, we have cruise tours that span from 11 to 14 days. And these cruise vacation packages include overnight stays in Denali and Anchorage. And exclusive to Norwegian, all of our cruise tours are led by local Alaskan guides to provide you with a truly authentic Alaskan experience. We're going to move on to the next slide. And the final ship in our fleet that's sailing to Alaska is the Norwegian Sun. And this was recently refurbished in the spring of 2018 as part of our Norwegian Edge program. And the Sun is an amazing ship, and it has been sailing in Alaska for quite some time. This ship offers plenty of dining options, a wide variety of bars and lounges, the relaxing Mandara Spa, and the always entertaining and exciting Sun Club Casino. The next slide will talk about a unique sailing that we have on the Sun. The Sun is doing 5, 7, and 9-day departures. This is one of the 9-day departures, which features a stop in Sitka. Now, Sitka is a unique destination. It's rumored to be 10,000 years old by some, and it is the first and oldest city in Alaska. Now, this charming island community is surrounded by stunning mountain and seaside panoramic views, and the vast, rich wildlife boasts sightings of both whales, brown bear, deer, sea otters, and various birds. This destination also offers superb fishing and plentiful historical attractions, as it was the first capital city for Alaska. One of the most popular attractions in Sitka is the famed Raptor Hospital, where you can experience a close encounter with Alaska's majestic bald eagles. And then we're going to move finally over to the next slide. And we're going to talk about what makes us different from the other cruise operators in Alaska. And some of it is included in our dining. We do things differently with Norwegian Cruise Line. We don't have set dining times. We want you to be on vacation so you can experience things the way that you would like to experience them on your vacation. So there's no set dining times. You can dine with whoever you want, whenever you want. And, you know, each of our venues, including the new Onda by Scarpetta, provides its own unique experience and flavors and cuisines from around the world. Every dish has been crafted and tantalize your taste buds with the freshest, highest quality ingredients. And so you can explore a wide selection of specialty and complimentary dining options where you'll find your new favorite dish every day while you're on board. The next slide, we'll talk a little bit about our this is the waterfront, and so we want to be able to bring more of the experience on being on the water to you as you experience our ships. A lot of our newer ships are built in this way, and we find that a lot of dining al fresco is taking it is very popular on our ships, and so this is a unique feature on Norwegian Cruise Line called the waterfront. The next slide is our revolutionary observation lounge, offering the most expansive views at sea. The observation lounge is located at the front of the ship and provides the same stunning views as from the bridge, and it features a full-service bar for guests to sit back and take in those views. If we move to the next slide, we'll show you some of the cutting-edge technology and new thrills to cruising to take it to a whole new level. And you can watch the ocean blur by as you zoom around curves that are suspended 13 feet over the side of the ship on the Norwegian Speedway. It is the largest racetrack at sea, and this is featured on two of the ships sailing in Alaska, both the Norwegian Bliss and the Norwegian Encore. Next, some additional activities that you won't want to miss out on. Whether it's mini golf or whooshing over the side of the ship in the ocean loops in our aqua park. You can even explore a virtual reality world or uncover hidden treasures with our revolutionary laser tag. No matter which thrill that you seek, there's always something to get your heart pumping on our top decks. And this is what makes Norwegian truly a multi-generational experience, because we have activities and things happening throughout the ship for every age demographic. Finally, the next slide. We can top off spectacular days with legendary nights on board Norwegian Cruise Line. You can bask in the bright lights of Broadway with dazzling performances that will have you tapping your feet or your sparkly high-heeled boots. A famous and fabulous feel-good story, Kinky Boots, is a 6-time Tony Award-winning show and is exclusively on Norwegian Encore. And Oh What a Night is not only a hit song by the Four Seasons, but what you'll be saying after an evening at the blockbuster musical Jersey Boys on Norwegian Bliss. And you could even spend an evening rocking along with classic hits in a British pub at Choir of Man. It's one of our most popular shows in our entire fleet. And I will tell you that entertainment is something that Norwegian is known for. It's our signature product, and we have great shows on there for you to enjoy. So moving along to the next slide, I just wanted to cover briefly about our new Norwegian's peace of mind policy, both sailing safe and the flexible booking options. This is more than a new program or policy. Norwegian's peace of mind is a philosophy, and we're ensuring the health and safety and confidence of our guests and crew on board and onshore. From new partnerships with world-class experts in their fields, to more robust health and safety procedures, to flexible cancellation policies, we're taking every precaution so you can continue to explore these destinations like Alaska that you love safely. Next slide. The health and safety and comfort of our guests and crew is our #1 priority. We are enhancing our already robust health and safety measures so that you can continue to have the ultimate peace of mind. We've also convened a council of leading experts in health, infectious diseases, and safety to provide ongoing guidance for our improving health and safety measures. And then finally, the last slide of this is we've been closely working with the Center of Disease Control and Prevention and are adding stringent health protocols to supporting our innovation to meet and exceed their standards once they have been finalized by them. And I just wanted to bring to your attention some of the health and safety measures that we're implementing fleet-wide in more that are in development. So we're going to have enhanced screening protocols, all new air filtration, increased sanitation measures. We're going to have responsible social distancing, enhanced medical resources on every ship throughout our fleet. And we're also going to have extended ship-to-shore safety to make sure that we are not only keeping safe on board our ships, but making sure that we're going to destinations where it's safe for you to travel during this current situation we find ourselves in. Next slide. So finally, our partnership at AAA Northeast is incredible. And so we wanted you to be the first to hear about a new sale that's starting actually tomorrow. And this is for all ships and all destinations, including Alaska, and it's free prepaid gratuities for balconies and above. And that's in addition to our already industry award-winning standard of our free at sea promotion, in which you can get 5 free offers: free open bar, free specialty dining packages, free shore excursion discounts, free Wi-Fi, and free kids, and that's kids of all ages. That's 3rd and 4th guests staying in the same cabin on select sailings. So you won't want to miss out on this. All of your travel counselors at your branches at AAA Northeast are already aware of this promotion, and so you can discuss this with them starting tomorrow. Last slide. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about Alaska. It is a destination that's near and dear to my heart, and I definitely hope that you get an opportunity to explore America's last frontier for yourself.
Thank you so much, Matt. Wow, that was just so incredible. I was so fortunate enough to see Kinky Boots on the Encore in the fall, and as a huge Broadway fan, I was blown away. It was absolutely incredible. So now that we've seen what each of these cruise lines has to offer, I'm sure that you guys have a couple of questions. So please continue to add your questions into the chat, and we can serve those up to our incredible panel here today. While we wait for some more questions to come in, I just wanted to remind you that booking with a AAA trusted travel advisor is part of your membership benefits. Our team has the resources you need, from safety protocols to the best travel deals. Dollars off, upgrades, and bonus perks like onboard credits are all yours to enjoy because you are a member with us. Our agents are available by phone, or you can set up an appointment today as well. So we do have a couple of great questions for us to get started. I'm going to give this one to Cindy. What is the best time to go to Alaska? I really loved your slide. So if you can go over some of the best times to travel to Alaska, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. Perfect. The best time to go to Alaska, it's kind of subjective. Primarily, it's also kind of what you're looking for. If you are price conscious, you want to take a look at May, the shoulder seasons, May and September. If you are looking for whales, I think our chart actually had July. And so it's really consistent in regards to what you're wanting your Alaska experience and to encompass and to be part and to experience. But more importantly too, I think, is to keep in mind that Alaska weather changes. You can possibly go out ashore one afternoon and it'll be about 45 degrees, and then in the afternoon it could be up to 60. One day could actually be a beautiful sunny day, and then the next day, the late afternoon, it could be a little cloudy. The clouds will set in and there'll be a little rain. So we always kind of tell everyone, when it comes to Alaska, just be prepared for the unknown when it comes to weather, and layers. And layers is really the key secret behind that, because I specifically remember one morning in Juneau where everyone talked about, oh, what a beautiful day, Juneau. Well, I spent the morning of Juneau fishing, and then the afternoon, actually it was reversed, the morning of Juneau out on a bike tour, and then fishing in the late afternoon, and the sunny skies were all day. There was also the opportunity in Juneau in the middle of June where the sun sets at 10:30 at night. So again, when's the best time to go to Alaska? It really is contingent on what you like to experience, and be prepared for. Most certainly be prepared for that changing weather, unpredictable.
Thank you so much. That's a great suggestion. Matt, I'm going to serve this question over to you just because you were just speaking about it. So somebody's asking, how will the cruising experience change post-COVID? So you covered a lot of updates to increased safety and sanitation protocols. So how will that affect the members' experience on board?
I don't think it's going to affect them adversely, but it's going to be a little bit different than they've experienced in the past. I know that already all of the cruise lines, including Norwegian Cruise Line, take such detailed efforts to make sure that their ships are safe and sanitary for all of the guests. I think the number one issue that affects many cruise passengers in terms of anything that would happen on board is norovirus. It's one of the things, and it's the same type of sanitation measures that they take place in terms of keeping everything clean that they would do for COVID. And so I think that we're going to be doing a lot of enhanced screenings, social distancing, and a lot of other things. But it's, all the measures that we have put forward and the other cruise lines have mentioned on this topic are suggestions that we're already coming forward with. We haven't received any sort of detailed restrictions that from the CDC or anything like that. So I think it'll continue to evolve as we continue to go forward and we learn more about how we can continue to prevent this disease. But I think that some of the enhanced measures that we're taking by adding more medical staff to our ships, by filtering the air even more than we have before, continuing our health and safety protocols in terms of sanitation throughout our vessels, and also you'll see a lot of times when people enjoy the buffet, they won't be a self-serve type of experience there. You'll find that it'll be more of a plated type of experience, and our servers will be helping our guests with those.
Thank you so much. I think that's so great. I think just the peace of mind and knowing knowing what the next steps are for everyone's vacations is so helpful. Brendan, this one is for you. With your extensive travel in Alaska, what's your favorite part and experience about the cruise tour option?
Well, what is my favorite part of a cruise tour? I think a couple destinations that people sometimes overlook. I'm particularly in love with Seward as a destination. A lot of the time, folks will view that as a destination where they embark or debark the ship. It's such a fabulously beautiful place to be. Seward is known as the destination, or certainly the Kenai Peninsula where Seward sits on is known where the destination where Alaskans go to play. And as much as I've been to Alaska, I go usually 2 or 3 times a year. And as I spent many years there, every year I stand in Seward, and I mentioned before, surrounded by the Kenai Mountain Range, which is part of the glacial formations, go down into the Pacific, and it just takes your breath away. Every time you stand there and think, my God, it is this beautiful. It's just such a fabulous place to be. I also love Fairbanks, and Fairbanks is kind of an overlooked destination, I think a little bit in the interior of Alaska. Part of that is because what drives folks to want to experience Alaska is often wilderness, wildlife, and mountains and glaciers, as I spoke about. And any destination in the interior of Alaska, whether you're in Alyeska or Denali or Talkeetna, or wherever it might be, it provides a lot of that. Fairbanks doesn't. There's no mountains really to be seen. There's no or limited wildlife. Really what Fairbanks offers is just tremendous history and tremendous great local experiences. And they're things that I love. I love going to what's called the Goldridge 8 mining operation, where you learn and reenacted the mining operation from throughout the years. And I talked a little bit about the riverboat discovery. Fairbanksians, as they are called, are just from the heart great people who want you to explore their town and see what they have to offer. And it's just such a great place to be. What I'll add is that, just from the question before about the best time to visit Alaska, is that particularly in Fairbanks, one of the things that you find is, yes, it's the land of the midnight sun, but a lot of what I'm sure everyone's heard about is Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights, which are there most of the summer, but you can't see them because you've got 23, 24 hours of sunlight or light in many cases. If you do one of the final 2 cruise tours of the season and end in Fairbanks, you have some opportunities in order to see the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, and I'd certainly recommend spending an extra night or 2 in Fairbanks in order to get out into the countryside and really expand upon that. So, yeah, I mean, a couple destinations that are probably less well visited as part of a cruise tour, or the interior of Alaska, or Seward and Fairbanks, and they're 2 of the places that I love.
Great, thank you so much. I love it. All right, so that looks like all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys. I know we went a little over today, but there was just so much wonderful information learning about Alaska and just how beautiful it is and what all of your cruise opportunities are. We appreciate all of you for joining us, especially to our panelists. Thank you for your transparency and the really inspiring opportunities that you all shared. All of this information certainly gives us a greater understanding about Alaskan cruises. If you have any questions, please reach out to AAA Travel Advisors at AAANortheast.com. You can see that email right on your screen, and a AAA travel agent will be more than happy to help you, or you can visit AAA.com/travel to set up a phone appointment with one of our agents as well. We look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you all again, and I hope you have a really great evening.